Good morning everyone and welcome back to Piccadilly. Now I have to say work on new mills has come to a little bit of a halt, and mainly for two reasons. I did lose a little bit of momentum after being ill, so that did take a little while to sort of recover, if you like. But secondly, if you notice, I need to get these water areas done before putting any other scenics in. I do need a few more trees here, not too many, but just a few more. And if I start putting too much more around this, I'm not going to have enough space to physically pour things in. And I don't want to end up pouring the water effects over the foliage. So I do need to leave space for that. I did start to think about the bridge coming across, but again, I didn't want to do too much because I need to get the water in there first, because all this needs to be banked up here. We'll come down here. Obviously, the road will come across, and that will be like a bit of a break for the hill, and then it will sort of peter down, because obviously we've got a bit of a, not a cliff edge, but a wall or a bank going down towards the Rover Goyt, because obviously that comes around and sort of goes off in different places, doesn't it? So what I need to do first of all, before I start pouring things in here, I need to do a few experiments. I've got the stuff now that I'm going to use, and I'll tell you more about that later, but I'll meet you at the workbench, show you how I'm going to make these experiments. Right, here we are at the workbench. Now, I've just mocked up, screwed up newspaper, and I'm literally just going to make these dips. I'm not going to spend ages showing you this, because what I'm doing here now is literally just for the mock-ups. But pushing the paper through, wrapping it round, just making sure I've got a dip, just something like that, and I'm just going to put some tape over that. Just around like that, push it in, and then a bit the other way. That's that roll finished. Just like that. Okay, there they are, they're all done. So I just need to let these dry. Just to make it clear, these are not going on the layout, these are just for experiments. What I've the water effects I want to put in, I want to do one. I'm going to paint these with emulsion, put some stones in them, just as I would create a little mini riverbed, and then pour one clear, and then vary the amounts of tint. So there we are, there's the water experiments ready. So I'm just going to let those dry off for now for a day or so, because you can see they're still quite damp, even though I have had a heat tool on them. I'm kind of hoping I'll be able to do it tonight, but I think I'm being a little bit optimistic. But I will look at that maybe on Saturday and get the water experiments underway. But I'll also show you some other things I have been doing, and that's making some scenics. So there's the sphagnum moss, which I've now done green. It's not very green, but I think that'll be enough to do the trees for one. And also some more clump foliage. So dark, medium and light, as you see. I think when this light mixes in with the other colours, I think it will just blend in quite nicely and just give it a little bit of variation. Made from car sponges, put into a blender and chopped up so it's really quite fine, and then mixed in some varying coloured paints. I bought some acrylics from Hobbycraft. These I have got a load more, and at the moment they were selling these for £1, which I thought was an unbelievable price really. So I bought quite a few of the greens, because that actually is pretty much the right colour. It's sort of between those two, isn't it? So I think with a little tweaking on one of those greens, I think that will be absolutely fine to put in neat as they are. So yeah, and then the last stage was to mix in with some neat PVA and clump it all together. So it is fairly compressed, because I do want it to be you know, a big lump really, which I can then tear apart to the sizes I want. This one does seem to have a few bigger bits in it, but I can, if they become a problem, I can either remove them or just chop them up a little bit more. These ones are a little bit more successful. Yeah, so really quite pleased with them all, really. And I'm sure I can deal with these bigger bits, which I've somehow missed in the blender, but never mind, it's not the end of the world. All right, anyway, I'll catch you soon. And like I said, I will crack on with those water experiments and I will reveal the product I'm going to be using then. All right, speak soon. All right, welcome back. Now, as you can see, all four of these are now absolutely solid and they've been setting for about 48 hours. So they have well and truly gone off now. So I'm ready to start doing the water experiments. Now, my inspiration for these is coming from a wargaming channel called Luke's APS. And the APS stands for Affordable Paint Services. He's got his own business now, so he actually does wargaming board commissions for people. And he's also got an online store, so if you want to go to his site and buy any materials, then, you know, feel free to do that. I will leave a link to his channel and website in the description below, so you can go there, have a good look round. And I think he's doing a discount during the summer as well if you want a little bit of money off any of the products he does. Now he does lots of commissions for these wargaming boards and shows on YouTube step by step how to go about doing it. So from making scenery to making trees, adding foliage. But obviously the bit I'm interested in at the moment is adding water. Now he's done quite a large number of different ones that include seas and rivers and lakes and all different types of board that have all these things on them. Now, I must say right from the beginning, if you've got a large amount of water to do, I mean, obviously considerably more than what I've got, then resin is the way to go, without any shadow of doubt. Obviously, Woodland Scenics do one, but Luke would recommend that you go and buy an industrial one. If you've got a really large amount, just buy an industrial resin because it'll be cheaper in the long run, and the results will be maybe slightly better quality. Not dissing the Woodland Scenics one in any way, shape or form. It's fantastic. But as you know, I've only got a small amount of water to do. It's just a representation of the Rover Goyt. And he's looked at different particular ways of creating effects. And he recommends using this stuff, Clearfix. Now, this will easily put waves and ripples and splashes and all sorts of stuff on your layout. And with the use of a thinning agent, which in this case is going to be isopropyl alcohol, you can create all sorts of effects. Now, obviously, to use this cartridge, you're going to need one of these, which is obviously a mastic gun. You'll struggle to use it, to put it on without one of those. So that does bump the price up a little bit more. But obviously, once you've got a mastic gun, you've got it and you don't have to go and buy another one. I've had that one for probably about 20 years. Can't tell, can you? But anyway, what we do is we, obviously, if you're not familiar with these, cut off the end and please make sure that you don't cut into the thread just there. So you cut off just at the bottom of the cone. Take this piece off, screw it on. That just screws back on just like that. And then once you've done that, you'll notice that this needs cutting back slightly here. And if you look closely, you'll see there are some markers on there depending on the size of the hole you want at the end. So the bigger the hole, the more comes out at a time. That's all it is. So if you want a thin bead, then you could put it on just using the hole there is. Okay, there is a sealing cap, but in my experience of these products, they do tend to only last one shot. You can't sensibly put these in, use say half the tube and then put it away and hope to come back to it in 6 months. It will be absolutely solid and ruined. So most of the time you've got to use it within the day, I think. That's my experience, although I've not used this stuff before, so this might be different. Who knows? We'll soon find out, won't we? Okay, right, I'm going to go off cam now and I'll come back to you shortly and I'll show you how to go about doing this. Right, forgive me, I had to have a little play first, as you can appreciate, not using this stuff before. Now, I'll show you how to do this in a minute, but I've just mixed up some of the stuff and the isopropyl alcohol, and look at that. Now, I know it's got a milky looking texture to it, but that actually I think is sitting on the bottom. If I turn it round, the actual substance is clear. It's not gone off completely, but it's very jelly-like, and it's been about 10 minutes. Okay, I thought I'd have a go at putting a tint in it as well. And at first I tried this stuff, just general acrylic by Daler and Rowney, and that didn't work. As you can see, if I show you that, all the bits in it, that's that stuff. It just didn't want to break down and didn't want to mix in. So obviously it's got a different base to this. But then I thought, well, I've got to try and find something. So I found this by Vallejo, which is Maroon Valletta. Okay, and on the card, when you put it out on card, it looks slightly greeny browny. So in one light it's green and in another light it's brown. I don't know whether it's intended to be that, but I've given it a thorough shake, and as you can see from that, I'm quite happy with the colour of that, to be quite honest with you. Sort of got a greeny browny texture to it, and that's the slightest drip really, so it's not an awful lot. Right, I'll show you what I did. I've got a clear tub, so hopefully you should be able to see inside it as I do it. Now, obviously, I'm not doing the actual job now. Just move the camera up a little bit. This isn't for the layout, this is for these experiments. So I'm going to squirt quite a bit into the can, and when you're using one of these mastic guns, you'll find it just keeps coming out until you clip that clip at the back, and then just pull the rod back ever so slightly just to release the pressure on the tube, and that way it will stop, catch any drips. I'm just going to this just happens to be soaked in isopropyl alcohol as I threw it everywhere. I know. Right, putting that onto the end. Oh, it doesn't want to grip very well, that one. It's not going to be very good in the future. No, it's not going to have it, but hopefully I won't be that long before I finish. Now, the recommendation is that you tip the amount of alcohol to about the top of the polymer. Actually, on that note, some of you might think, oh, this is just a standard acrylic, or what's the word I'm thinking of? Silicone. It isn't, apparently. It's not a silicone. And yes, you're very welcome to go off and try other clear silicones, but this is actually a polymer. And it does say that on the side as well. Now, this stuff is quite difficult to mix, but I'll do it on the cam for you so you can see what I'm doing. I'm literally just pressing it against the side of the pot, because we obviously want it to break down and dissolve into the alcohol. I mean, I suggest if you're going to do this, oh yes, I'm showing you what to do here now, but I strongly suggest you go and have a look at Luke's channel, because he goes into an awful lot more depth with his discoveries than I'm going to. Now, what he did say is if you add too much, it starts going white, and actually, by the looks of things there, I might have added a little bit too much alcohol. But considering I'm going to tint it brown, I am just going to keep going. It is going a little bit cloudy, but I think for what I want, it will be all right. So we're not there yet. But it does take quite a while. I've done it just the once, as you can see. And I'm really holding on to the pot quite firmly. As I did it the last time, I was stirring away just like I am now, and the pot left my hands and ended up spilling half the alcohol all over the table, hence that bit of tissue being covered with the alcohol. I'm just grateful it doesn't smell so bad, to be honest with you. But I do want to do this on cam for you so you can see how long it takes for the amount I've mixed up. It is not recommended using it straight from the tube, unless you're using it as an adhesive, of course. But for modelling effects, it's better to thin it down ever so slightly. Although having said that though, I mean, if you are making waves that need to stand up, then I suppose there's nothing stopping you from having a go, is there? I mean, at the end of the day, we're all going to use it for maybe something slightly different. I mean, in our world, obviously the model railway world, we tend just to model rivers and lakes and things like that, not necessarily anything of any substance. Whereas in the wargaming world, you might be modelling a beach which has got the edge of an ocean on it, or a sea, or something. I'm almost there now. But as you can see, it has gone a little bit on the cloudy side. But I think once I've put the acrylic in it, or the paint I should say, it should be fine. Now I do want to show you how liquidy that is, and I'll tip that into another one of these so you can see clearly self-leveling, and it's obviously got some bubbles, and to get rid of those, you can see I'm just blowing. Okay, I've mixed up another batch, and it is still a little bit milky, but it's not too bad. Now, one of the things I'd realised what was said was the alcohol you use must be, hopefully you can see that, 99%. And I was using this bottle, which I didn't realise was 78%. So 99% alcohol is crucial in this instance. Now, I'm just going to add one single drop of this stuff. I'm going to do one. Go on, you can do this. Go on, one drop. There we go. Right, I'm going to mix that up and see what that's like. Right, I decided to add some of this stuff, the Revel stuff, and that did seem to work an awful lot better, as you can see. But I am just continuing to stir this in the hope that I can get rid of some of these bits. Like I said, I'm not overly worried by them, but I'd rather they not be incredibly bitty. Let's tip this in and see what happens. Actually, I'm quite pleased with that. I can't tip it up, obviously, but it's got that sort of murky look to the water, as you can see, as if it has just come out of a swamp, or river I should say. But yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Now I think what I'm going to do is leave that one sort of shallow, and I'm going to put this one and fill this one up a bit more. Obviously this is the 4, I can't do much more than this, but I'm going to fill this one up to to the depth I'm looking for. Yep, so you can still see into it a little bit. I'll show you in the cam there. Again, I can't tip it up for obvious reasons. And I'm actually going to tip some of this over the top of this one, see how that copes. I'm going to put a bit in there as well. No, that's not going to work. That's just gone, well, yucky. But that's what these are about. These are experiments. So forgetting this one, because I think I've just ruined that and that looks disgusting. We've got one where shallow water, and we've got one here a deep pour water, and we're one where I've just added a second layer. So if I'll mark those up so we can hopefully tell the difference between these two at the very least. Right, there we are. All of these experiments are now complete. It's been about an hour, hour and a half, and that's the shallow one. And I'm tipping it up, and it's pretty much, I mean, I'm not going to stick anything in it, but that's pretty much set. But if you look closely into that, you can see the stones that are down below. So I'm quite pleased with that. Obviously, that's the one that was, well, yucky and disgusting. That's, if you remember, I used the 78% alcohol on that, and I've paid the price for that. It's just gone very milky, and that's not acceptable at all. But if we don't do these things, we won't find out, will we? And this was the one where I put the first layer of stuff in, and then the second layer of milky stuff. And as you can see, it's starting to go off now. It's still a little bit movement in there, but you know, you can just about make out some bits below. But this is the one I'm interested in. If you look at that, that was the deep pour. So there's probably, I don't know, about 1 centimetre or more in there. Actually, let's find out, shall we? If I get the little screwdriver like I did before, and I'll put it in. Yeah, I'd say it's about maybe just under 1 centimetre in there. And it's not gone off by any means, but it's starting to skin over, as you can see. There's still a little bit of movement in that. Right, there we are. I've mixed up the liquid I'm actually going to use on the layout. What I have found though, it is a little bit bubbly inside. If you look carefully, I don't know whether you can see that, but there are quite a few bubbles in it. It may not make a lot of difference, so I'm trying to sort of keep dropping it like that in the hope that the bubbles will just keep coming to the surface. I think I've probably got about 40 minutes, so I'll see if I can get rid of a few more of the bubbles first, and then I'll take you upstairs to the layout and put it on. Okay, see you in a minute. Right, you join me at the layout, and I've got this stuff now. So I'm just going to go for the deep pour because I think it will set properly. I don't think it'll be a problem. So just gently pouring it in. Just making sure that it doesn't overflow at the front. I'll blow on that in a bit. Now this one. I'll just pour this in at the back. Excuse me if I'm in the way. So. It is looking a little bit on the milky side. I think I will put a bit more paint in it, to be honest. Right, I'll come back to you when I've done that. Right, I've mixed up some brown paint, and I've put some alcohol in it. So I'm literally just going to tip a little bit in each. Give it a bit of a swizzle round. Give that a bit of a swizzle. All this is just to see if I can hide that murkiness. Just gently getting it to blend in. I'll come back to you in a minute once I've done that. There we are. Now, it may not be to your taste, but I like it. I think that's turned out quite well, so I'm quite pleased with that. And then with a few more shrubs, maybe just a couple growing out from the sides of the river. A couple more trees sort of over here, maybe another one just sort of here too, maybe, and another couple sort of here. I've got to hide that joint just there, so I think that's absolutely fine. I might even put another tree or two coming out of this area here just to enclose it a little bit more. I've obviously got to let it all dry before I can do any of those things. I mean, even to be honest with you, I can't sensibly do the bridge until this has gone off a lot more than it has, obviously. I don't want bits dropping in it, that would spoil it, so I'd rather just leave it for a day or two and then come back to the layout shortly after. But there we are. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this and the little experiments with Clearfix, and if you like it, like I said many times in this video, please go and check out Luke's APS, and I'll catch you soon. All right, thanks ever so much. Bye for now.